So OBS says we are streaming, but
Excellent.
is it playing a trick on us?
Possibly. I'm just gonna refresh it and see if it shows up. Yes, it does. It's live now.
All right. Daniel, if you want to post the tweet, I'll just retweet you. That way I'm not clicky all the stuff.
Sure. If Twitter will load.
And of course my laptop is getting loud. Crybunny, you stream on your laptop. Do you ever have issues with your fan? Or is yours...
With my fan? Yeah. Oh my god, I have issues with everything. I stream on a MacBook laptop, so it's like the most taboo thing for streaming. Every day there's something. But yeah, the fan gets really loud. I have it up on like a stand, so that helps a little bit, but it's an uphill battle. It's an uphill battle. Gotta get to the PC one day.
You're on your PC now, aren't you, Daniel? Or do you also do the laptop thing?
It's it's not a laptop, but it is a Mac, and a lot of streaming services or software really just don't like Mac for some reason. I've noticed.
Yeah.
It's yeah, like Streamlabs didn't come to Mac until like maybe it was like a year or 6 months ago or something. It didn't even exist, and OBS kind of stinks. So
and like the Elgato game capture cards didn't used to connect, but now some of the newer ones do. It's just a new thing.
Us poor Mac users. So
I know. Gotta stick together.
We have 3 people in the chat. Hello, William, Yellow Rose, and Justin. This is the first time being on a live in a long time. What's popping and nice. Yeah. Alright, so in just a moment we will begin. We're going to let everyone have some time to get in, since it just jumped from 3 to 20 for me. So.
There you go.
And we will be answering some questions towards the end. So if you want your answer, well, if you want your question answered immediately, then that'll have to be like a super chat or something. That way we're not stopping to answer every single question while we're in the middle of the topic. But everyone will have theirs towards the end. Is Gibby Gibbs? Or are you a new Gib? Did you make a new YouTube channel?
I don't think it's the same Gibbs.
So like a parallel universe Gibbs?
Maybe. It's cross dimensions.
What do you have joining the podcast today? Oh, we have Melon Speedruns and Crybunny. Will... Huh?
Huh?
What?
Huh?
Who?
Wait. Somebody typed in chat?
Yeah, in the chat, someone asked who we're having on today.
Oh, I thought you were reading the chat, people. I was like, wait, there's somebody called Melon Speedrun typing in the chat?
No.
That's not me.
Imposter! There is an imposter among us!
Very sus.
No,
so quick question.
Yes.
Shall I be looking at the chat, or are you just going to read comments?
You can do whatever you want to. I mean, I'm barely going to be reading chat during the show. Daniel usually is the one who interrupts. Well, not interrupts, but lets everyone know that... no, I'm usually the one that interrupts everyone, but Daniel usually lets everyone know if there's a super chat or something, because I'm usually... I can't really go do much because my screen has to remain full screen, but I do have a second screen beside me, but I don't try to click on it because Discord always cuts in and out for me when I try to do stuff.
Okay.
It's true.
Yeah.
Alright, so there's 25 people in now. That's enough to start. So, is everyone ready?
Yep.
Ready.
Right. Do you know what episode this is, Daniel?
I didn't even know we were counting anymore.
Alright. Hello everyone and welcome to the Hylian Gamescast episode. Today we have on a guest for the very first time is Crybunny. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we will introduce Melon Speedruns, who has been on a couple of times before, I think.
Yeah, thank you, Jesse. Hi guys, my name is 𝐼𝐴𝐵𝐢𝐿 or 𝐼𝐵𝐢𝐿 Girl on Twitch. Happy to see you. I just started streaming in October, and I'm kind of new to the Zelda world, so coming from a fresh perspective of a newbie. Yeah, and I am loving Twitch so far. I started with Breath of the Wild. I'm going towards 100% right now. Trying to get those last Korok seeds. We're at like 700, so happy to be here, and thanks for having me on.
Awesome. And Melons, you've been on before, but there's probably a lot of new people watching that hasn't watched the last episode. So for everyone who doesn't know you, let them tell them a bit about yourself.
All right. Well, I'm Malon Speedruns. You can just call me Malon. That's fine. I mod games. So what I do is I take games that like Breath of the Wild or Ocarina of Time, and I modify them to add new features, levels, and a bunch of stuff that I think is interesting to add. So if you really like game development, it comes really close to that. So yeah, that's what I do.
All right, and Daniel, I'm sure nobody knows who you are, so.
I'm surprised if anyone would. I'm Daniel, although you may know me as 𝐵𝐻𝐵𝐺𝐿, and yeah, I'm here on this podcast with Jesse all the time, and of course I have my own channel where I talk about Zelda for way too many minutes, and then that's what I do. So everything is at 𝐻𝐵𝐵𝐺𝐿.
All right, well, the last few weeks we've been doing a lot of videos with the channel Hard for Games. Our friend Tony over there is part of the team, or friends with the team. I don't really know the proper way to say it, but in either way, he has a lot of work going on involving the Zelda 64 beta leak, and we've been covering some of it as well. He's been on the last 2 episodes of our podcast, which a lot of you have been watching lately, so thank you for that. As opposed to talking about all the stuff that's been found in the beta, because we've done a lot of that already, we're going to be talking about some things that should have been in the beta, but as some of you know that's been following along, the beta was found on an F0 development cart. So originally it had all of the data on it, but then it got written over by F0 while they were working on it or putting it on a development cart to promote at some sort of event. So whatever the situation, some of the data was written over, and we know from screenshots and interviews and another beta leak that happened a while back, there should have been a lot more on it. And there's been 3 or 4 different versions of Ocarina of Time. Anyway, so we're going to talk a little bit about what we would like to see that has not been found quite yet. Then we're going to be talking about Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury, Pokémon Snap, and then before we get to your questions, we will be talking about a long time ago, while we were doing research for old interviews and everything, we came across the Zelda website, the official Nintendo's Zelda website back in the time of like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, so the early 2000s or whatever. They had a bunch of facts or theories or connections that they made on the website, but it was written by someone who they basically just hired to run the website, not someone actually working on the Zelda games or like personally knowing anything from the developers. So all the facts or theories or answers they gave to questions that people asked were just completely wrong. And I thought it would be funny to kind of go over some of the nonsense that they were talking about on there. So yeah, I guess we can get started. So our first topic, Zelda 64, the beta data that we still want to be found. Melons, since you have so much knowledge of working on Ocarina of Time and modding it and everything, and you're also friends with Hard for Games, you've been keeping up with all of the beta stuff that we've been doing. So what are some stuff that you would like to see that has not been found yet, but we know actually does exist somewhere?
So basically, in the files we got from the F0 data, I guess it was most likely maps, right? We had some item icons, we had some menu sprites, but we mainly had maps and text. What we didn't get though is objects like Link's 3D model, NPCs, or anything that moves in the game. We didn't get any of that because those object data are usually at the beginning of the ROM. And since F-Zero overwrote half of the ROM, we only got access to the other half, which that was mostly map data. So because of that, we have a lot that is still missing from the data leaks. Mainly, we have the entire code of the game that's missing, like how to move the character, how to get the items. We have the animations, we have the 3D models for the objects and PCs, and we also have that's kind of like weird to say, but the header of the ROM, because each ROM has a specific name in the file, and that's like at the beginning of the ROM, so it's gone, but I would have really liked to see what that header would have said. So yeah, that's pretty much what I would have liked to see.
All right. Crybunny, you said you were new to the Zelda series. So do you have any idea about some of the stuff that was missing from the original Ocarina of Time?
Some of the stuff that was missing from the original Ocarina of Time.
Not sure if your knowledge goes that deep.
But I don't know. I'm going to have to maybe take this one from you guys a little bit. But yeah, what I know from Ocarina of Time is a character Malon, who I really like. Is she in it?
yeah, that would be the right name.
Okay, but I want to see more of her.
All right. Don't feel bad. There's a lot of people that was commenting on all the videos that we were doing that didn't know a lot of the information that was in there. So,
good. I'm going to learn a lot.
Yeah. All right, Daniel.
So one of the things on that ROM, that beta ROM that was found, like Melon said, there's a lot of old maps, like early versions of Hyrule Field that are different than the final game, early versions of dungeons that are different from the final game, things like that. But one map that I really wanted to see but hasn't seemed to come about yet is the map for Castletown, because we saw in like very back in the 90s, I feel like an old man, there were like magazines and stuff with screenshots, and there's always those screenshots of Castletown, and it looked really different than what we got in the final game. It looked bigger. That was the big thing, because in the final game you really just get the market square with a fixed camera and a one back alley, and that's it really. And so, but this looked like a huge fully fledged 3D town, closer, like it looked bigger than the Castletown we even got in Twilight Princess. So I would have really loved to have seen what that looked like at that time, but it's nowhere to be seen, so it probably got overwritten. Also, I don't think there's any music in that ROM in the beta at all, and it would have been really interesting to see if. Yeah, it would have been great to see if there was any songs that were different.
Actually,
in the final game.
During an interview I was reading, it wasn't necessarily an interview. It was. Reviews, or I don't know, like whatever it's called whenever a website's talking to people that just got done playing the demo or whatever. Mm-hmm. And what?
Preview, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. But I think it was IGN had an article up where they were talking to a lot of the people that had played the demo at the event where this beta was supposedly coming from, and they said a lot of the areas like Castletown and Hyrule Field did not have any music at all. Instead, it was filled with sounds of like birds chirping in the background and stuff like that. That it was just ambient noises, not music. And Pierre, who I tagged, was the one who wrote the article. He shared a nice picture that he had with Miyamoto holding up I guess it was one of their magazines when they used to do print magazines, with Ocarina of Time playing in the background. And in it, he said that after hearing all that stuff, like he would put his ear next to the TV with the TV turned all the way up so he could try to hear the sound, because everything's so loud there. Anyone that's been to E3 or any other event knows that there's a reason they give you headphones when you're playing a game. So, and that's even without all the TVs playing, you can still barely hear through the headphones. And that's just the noise from everyone talking. But yeah, he was talking about how in that demo there was no noise or audio in the background or anything. So I wonder if it was overwritten like we thought it might have been, or if it just wasn't included in that version. So
there probably was some music, not all of it, but usually the audio is like at the beginning of the ROM, like straight up at the beginning, so
yeah,
everything got deleted. So
well,
it's too bad though, because that game is pretty well known for like its music being so iconic, right? And a lot of the themes that started in that game are still like carried forward and used in the series today, right? And so like if there was say like an early version of like, I don't know, one of the Warp songs or even like the Ranch theme or who knows what, right? Even an early Hyrule Field theme, it just would have been, I don't know, just some deep-seated nerdy joy would just be spilling out of me. But yeah.
Well, whether it was there or not there, I still think it would be really cool if it would have been featured, because having early versions of some of those songs would be really great. But the thing that I want is kind of not really a debate, but a discussion Melons and I have been having, where I've been asking him what he thinks that the green medallion would do, because as we know, so all of the medallions would have their own magic ability, and they could also be equipped to the arrow in order to make like the fire arrow, ice arrow, or whatever. And we've been talking about the wind medallion, where you think it would have been used for more of a teleportation thing, like you would shoot it and it would teleport you, because that's what the medallion does on its own. And I had the thought that it would almost be like the Gale boomerang from Twilight Princess, to where you throw it and there's the big tornado that comes behind it, but instead of that, it would just be like a gust of wind blowing with the arrow.
Like the tornado rod and Spirit Tracks then?
Yeah. Something like that. And it would just like blow an enemy up or blow it back, or since the forest temple section of Ganon's castle is all like wind-based puzzles instead of having anything to do with an actual forest or grass or anything. And the forest temple was originally thought to be more wind-based, and that explains why it has the symbol of like fans on the medallion as opposed to a leaf or a tree or something that's actually forest or grass related. And then in Majora's Mask, when you get to the first dungeon, that's the forest themed dungeon, it does have a lot of wind-based puzzles, because you're playing as the Deku and you're shooting up and flying around and stuff. And then in Twilight Princess, that forest temple also has a bunch of wind-based puzzles where you have to use the Gale boomerang to spin the fans and stuff. And I think a lot of the fan spinning puzzles could have maybe been what might have been going on with the forest temple and Ocarina of Time, but I don't know. I like Millen's ideas as well, but I also like mine. So
I just had an idea just now.
Yes.
Ganon's castle in the final game has a trial for every single medallion, right?
Yes.
Right.
You enter the forest medallion trial. What do? You use Din's fire and fire arrows to lit up torches to go to the next room? Huh? My guess is that maybe the torches were lit and you would have had to unlit them with the forest arrow.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and
they changed that so the torch was unlit instead of lit by default.
That's really interesting.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I like that.
Thought of that. I just figured it was like Zelda filler, because there's so many torch lighting puzzles in the series that they were just like, just slap something in there.
But fire in the forest area. Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, that totally makes sense though. Especially because
dungeon.
In Twilight Princess, like Jesse mentioned, when you have the Gale boomerang, there's puzzles like that where you have to extinguish torches and then light them back up. So it would make sense if that's might have just been a concept they cut out and then reused later, right?
All right. Does anyone have anything else to talk about with the beta or anything? You haven't said too much.
I had the spirit medallion thing.
Oh yeah.
Where I talked with it with Ferguson last time, and I'm thinking that the warp arrow, which was spirit, so the spirit medallion was supposed to turn you into Navi and you could fly around. I'm thinking the spirit arrow would have been you shoot it at a wall and just teleports you to the wall, kind of like as an OP long shot. What I'm thinking they replace that with though is the Scarecrow, because the Scarecrow is something from the game that's optional, yet it's required. Like it's always been optional. Like you talk to the NPC and then come back to it as adult. You play a random song. It's really weird in how you get that song, and then randomly you get places you can use it at, and it's really like random because you don't know where to use it. But for Navi, just going there, like Navi goes there and okay, I know I have to play the Scarecrow song. And there's some rooms in the Fire Temple you can only access using that Scarecrow song and its Skulltula. So my guess is that,
which is quite counterintuitive as well, because you'd have to go out of your way to Lake Hylia to unlock that, even though that's way before you would have to go to the Water Temple, anyways. So, yeah. Come on,
so you have to go back and then you use Pierre. You get this golden Skulltula. You get a chest as well with like some rupees, I think, or a piece of heart. No, not rupees. And then that's it.
It's like 200 rupees and 2 gold Skulltulas in that room. I just played it yesterday.
Nobody is going to notice. Like, imagine you don't have the Scarecrow song, right? You do the Fire Temple, you see that place, you see, oh, I need something else. Then nobody's going to remember that and go back once they have the Scarecrow song. So my guess is that the Scarecrow replaced the teleport arrow.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people wouldn't think it would have anything to do with the Scarecrow at first anyways, and it would just be sorry everyone watching, Discord does this, we need to go to something else. So get used to this happening 2 or 3 more times.
No.
But I was just telling the chat while Discord messed up that we should move to like Zoom or something else that's like a little bit better for my computer. I don't know. But anyways, a lot of people don't even go to Lake Hylia as an adult until they've already beaten the Fire Temple. And by that point, a lot of people wouldn't even notice that there's Navi goes up there for you to play the song, and then wouldn't even tie it in until later that like, oh, you can do this with that or whatever. Kind of like how you can go back to the Deku Tree or Dodongo's Cavern as an adult for like 1 Skulltula.
Yeah, in Dodongo's Cavern.
Yeah.
And you have to go back in the Deku Tree to get bomb, or after you get bombs, as Child Link too. There's just like weird little secrets here and there that are just so counterintuitive in my opinion. In that way where it's like there's no like who would remember to go back for this unless you're like a hardcore completionist. So
yeah, it's useless. It only gives you Skulltulas, which at the end of the day only gives you like rupees.
Yeah. It's strictly just for the sake of completing it. Not unlike the Korok seeds in Breath of the Wild. Only at least those you can pretty much get from the beginning without any extra items, like not having to backtrack. So.
And all the stuff that you use the larger wallet for is stuff that you're supposed to get anyways. Like the Zora tunic is given to you, the Goron tunic's given to you, the Hylian shield's not even that much. But anyways, Crybunny, do you have anything to add onto all of this? When you were playing through Ocarina of Time, did you notice anything that felt like it may have been unfinished or that seemed like it should have been more?
Well, I haven't played Ocarina of Time yet.
Oh,
but that's interesting
I
to
thought
hear
you played
that there's
it
something
earlier.
similar. No, I haven't yet. It's on my list.
Okay.
But that's interesting to hear that there's something similar to the Korok seeds, because the Korok seeds are new in Breath of the Wild, right?
Yeah.
But is that something that Zelda games do? Do they make you do these kind of like grind tasks?
Yeah, but
I know what the prize is, though. I know what the prize is.
instead of 900.
900. Okay, yeah. 900 seems really cruel.
It is. So,
yeah, that's funny. They make you do this these grind things in other games too.
Yeah, Ocarina of Time has the gold Skulltulas. The one that I hated the most was in A Link Between Worlds, where there was the 𝐼𝐲𝐬𝐿. Is that what they were called?
No, yeah, but those are far more manageable because at least the map tells you, like the map breaks it up into each province, right? And it tells you how many are left in each province, not just your grand total, right? So if you're missing like 2 𝐼𝐲𝐬𝐿s, at least you'll know which section of the map you have to look in, instead of just being like, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I'll counter you and say that in the map select of the game, if you've collected all the Skulltulas of a certain area in OT, it tells you there's a Skulltula icon next to it that appears.
Yes, but Breath of the Wild just leaves you high and dry, and there's way more Koroks. And the thing is, like this happened to me. I completed the game, but it took me ages finding all those Korok seeds, and I thought I had planned it out. I was like, I decided what route I was going to go with it, so that the very last Korok seed I would get was the one at the very tip top of Hyrule Castle, above the Sanctum. And I was like, that's going to be the last one I get, because it's going to be a great epic moment, and then I'm going to go and fight Ganon. And then I get it, and I'm like, yes, nothing happened. What? And I realized so I warped to check my the loading screen to see the numbers, and I had missed one Korok seed somewhere. And I was like, where? Where? So I had to go back to the Heroes Path thing, and I pulled up the Zelda Dungeons interactive map, and I painstakingly followed my path and checked off on the interactive map every time I got a Korok seed, and it was about 200 in that I saw the one that I missed, because there was 2 right next to each other on like the beach at the very south of the map. And I was like, oh my god, I walked right past one earlier.
Oh no.
And so,
imagine if it was the one in Link's bed you forgot.
oh my gosh. That would be terrible. But no, it's so yeah, like that, I feel like Breath of the Wild, it leaves you high and dry with the Koroks. As far as like tracking your completion, you need almost like an external source, like the interactive map or something. Whereas at least these games, they kind of show you your progress in that way. Like you're like, oh, Death Mountain, okay, I've got everything on there. I've got all the Skulltulas and stuff. So it's and the 𝐼𝐲𝐬𝐿s in A Link Between Worlds do the same thing. So I don't know why it's almost like a regression to be less helpful.
Times 20 for like 900 too.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, the 𝐼𝐲𝐬𝐿s aren't that bad. At least they're cute too. So. The Koroks are cute too. Skulltulas are just big spiders, so they're not very cute.
Not cute. Doesn't sound cute.
Not cute.
Alright, so... Wait, what, Daniel?
I always thought the 𝐼𝐲𝐬𝐿s were cute though, because they're like little...
Your video's on like a 2-second delay.
Is it?
Yeah.
I hate it. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna just turn it off.
Alright, Daniel's gone. Let's talk bad about him.
Hey.
What? No. Okay, so with... Is everyone ready for the next topic?
I'm ready.
Okay. So we're going to be doing 3 instead of 2 because numbers are hard. And Melons mentioned that he had a lot to say about Pokemon and Mario. So we're going to go ahead and get into that before we get into the funny Nintendo Zelda stuff. So we have a rumored and heavily speculated Zelda 35th anniversary coming up, and while we are expecting, if it does happen, a lot of stuff will be coming then, but for now, the only really big games that we know of that are coming for sure is Pokémon Snap, which no one ever thought was going to happen again, and Super Mario 3D World, which everyone probably maybe thought wasn't going to come. No, almost every Wii U game got remade or re-released on Switch, so I guess everyone had an idea that it was going to come. But it also has its expansion DLC coming with it, so that's really interesting. And reminds me more of... do you guys remember a while back when Nintendo posted that image that everyone thought was meant to be a hint at Super Mario Sunshine 2 or...
with Mario, like, eating a watermelon or something?
Yeah.
He sees on his face.
Yeah.
Oh, no!
I think... so everyone thought the 2 seeds were I just thought we got Melon speedruns here, and he was eating a watermelon. Anyways,
Yeah,
I'm easily distracted. So he had the 2 seeds, and everyone thought like, oh, 2, is that Mario Odyssey 2? Is it going to be like a spiritual successor to Sunshine, or is it going to be Super Mario Sunshine 2, or what's it going to be? Because he's on the beach, and that had to do with a lot of sunshine, and he has the 2. But now I'm thinking maybe it was a hint towards this, or it could have just been a hint that they were working on Sunshine to be re-released in the 3D collection. I'm playing with a little tool thing, so just ignore me. But yeah, since you have a lot to talk about it, let's start with Mario and melons. How did it feel when Mario was chomping on you?
What?
Yeah, because
the melon.
Yeah.
Oh, that was really nice. No.
Oh.
Yeah, to me, the as you said, the image itself just looked like, at first glance it looked like a Mario Sunshine kind of deal, but I think the same image was found like in a calendar they released like 2 months before or something. So I think that just like they just took the picture and then shoved it in there and said, "Hey, happy summer, ha ha ha," and people looked too far into it.
Yeah, people really look too far into things like that all the time, though. Like the chairs, with
especially
Sakurai.
me.
They really...
I never looked at the chair stuff, but
yeah.
But no, with the actual 3D world and Bowser's Fury, what are your thoughts on it?
Right. So to me, it sounds like they just shoved us Odyssey DLC into a $60 game. And why I'm saying that is because I looked a bit at the gameplay of the game, and I don't want to spoil too much, but the menus are almost identical to Odyssey. Like 1-1, same sprites, same way of navigating them, and those kind of menus were not found in 3D World. They appear only in Bowser's Fury. And that's why I'm thinking they took what they had for Mario Odyssey DLC, shoved it in 3D World, and because of that they had to re-implement a bunch of stuff like menus and moves to make it work. Like Mario now has a dive that he couldn't do in the original, and I'm guessing that's because they didn't want to change the level design to accommodate for that dive, like the Odyssey dive. So they just added the dive in 3D World, and overall it just looks like they just maybe rethemed it as a cat world, but I think it's basically what the DLC was.
It's the best kind of world.
Yeah, they just made everything cats and changed the 3D models and DLC.
Although Odyssey already has like a lot of references to previous Mario games, like even one world that's almost like one huge homage to Mario 64. So it very well could have already been cat themed if they were like wink wink nudge nudge about 3D worlds.
You know what?
And then just repurposed it, right?
You know what? I think you're right, because the first trailer they showed where it was like nighttime and all rainy and they showed the bell. That rain effect was the same as in Super Mario Odyssey, the exact same when you're in Metro Kingdom at nighttime. So, well, I'm not sure it's like 1-1 the same, but it's like extremely close, where I'm thinking they probably used the same materials. And because of that, it just makes me think maybe it was cat themed and they just ported it to 3D World.
That's actually really interesting. I haven't even thought of that, but it does make more sense for them to have been working on DLC for their new game that ended up being one of their best sellers, as opposed to a game that is just a remaster of a game that not many people actually bought. So I like the way your brain works. Have you seen the Super Mario 3D World trailer with Bowser's Fury Cry Bunny?
I have, yeah.
What are your thoughts on all of it?
I played Super Mario Odyssey, so it seems kind of similar, like open world like that. But is Bowser's Fury like a separate thing, or are they the same game? I'm confused on like the packaging here.
It's an
the same
expansion that's being included
Okay.
in the game for free.
It seems like such a chaotic like theme. Like Cat Mario, Bowser's really mad, keeps getting more mad. Why is he so mad? He's always mad. I'm very intrigued to start. I
Yeah.
think there's a lot to get in there.
I like all
you can play multiplayer, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And online, finally.
Is
Yay!
it Bowser Jr.
But
you
only
play
the
as?
main game.
Yeah, and you can have Bowser Jr.
Yeah.
as a playable character, which is I think like the first time ever, aside from like Smash,
Wow.
that I can think of.
Mario Luigi Superstar Saga plus Bowser's.
Oh, okay.
minions.
Bowser's Inside Story. Yeah. That's such like a.
No, the remake they did on 3DS of Superstar Saga.
Yeah.
There was like that add-on minigame with Bowser Jr. and you could control him or Smash, I guess.
Okay.
Could you play as Bowser
I didn't
Jr.
play
in
that one.
Paper Mario? The newest Paper Mario. Couldn't you play as, or he was part of your team at some point, right?
Maybe I just
Baby
don't know what
Bowser?
the hell I'm talking about. So-
I haven't played
Maybe not.
The one on
Mario.
Switch?
The
Or-
Origami King, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think he joined your team at some point, but I don't know if you actually play as him. Now that I'm thinking about it, TBD.
I don't know. I haven't.
I haven't played it either. I loved seeing
could
all
just
the
be I don't know
jokes, and the one for Wii U had a lot of really adult jokes in it that would like fly over the heads of all the kids, but for
Oh
the
my God.
teenagers or adults playing the game, they could definitely see it and be like, Nintendo, what are you doing?
For all ages.
Yeah. But yeah, Daniel mentioned the online multiplayer, and that's the thing that I'm looking forward to the most because it means I can play with all of you. But it also means when the game originally came out, I had the same thought that I did with Nintendo Land when it first launched with the Wii U, that Nintendo could have easily put online multiplayer in the games because they seemed like they were kind of designed for it, and some games had online, some games didn't. It didn't really make sense to me. But with 3D World and Nintendo Land especially, in my head, I was like, okay, Nintendo knew people would love online multiplayer with all these games, but they chose not to do it. So my thought was they purposefully left it out just so if they made a sequel to one of them, then they could easily add in online multiplayer and the game wouldn't have to be that much different, and the big selling point could be like, oh, now it's online. And it's just basically the same game, but a little different. I don't know if that was what they did, but either way, I'm really excited for the online multiplayer because Super Mario 3D World was some of the best multiplayer that I've played on any Nintendo game. So I'm happy
So
that...
much fun.
Yeah. Now I don't have to go all the way to Canada to play it with Daniel. So.
Canada too, you know?
Oh, you're in Canada?
There you go.
too?
Yep, Quebec.
You're like
Oh,
on the
nice.
other side, like the
Yeah. I'm
other
French
side of the
Canadian,
country.
so that's why I have the accent.
All right. So I guess move on to Pokemon now. Or does anyone else have anything to say with Super Mario 3D World?
I'm just so excited for the Wii U version was one of my favorite Wii U games because it was just so much fun to play multiplayer, and it seems to run faster on Switch. Not just like the loading times and stuff, but like literally Mario's run speed is faster in the Switch version. Apparently,
Wasn't that the same with Sunshine?
Is it? I'm
No.
not sure.
I thought I
What they
seen.
did is that they boosted the game speed, like overall game speed of the player only by 20% almost. So Goombas don't walk as fast as the Wii U version, but all the player movement is like 20% faster than the Wii U.
That's
And so
interesting.
Nintendo Life did a video. I really just like their channel, but they did a video comparing like side by side, and you'll see like there's some obstacles where the danger is almost eliminated because there's like a scene where Mario's running and there's like the birds that kind of peck down at him. And in the Wii U version, they would just, if you were running at top speed, you would just barely avoid them. Whereas in the Switch version, they just like are like way behind and you're way clear of the threat. So, but at the same time, that also I feel like might add some difficulty when you're going on some narrow paths and stuff, like the danger of falling, or just going too fast and just right off the edge or something by accident. So, but
Yeah,
but
I
yeah,
would do that.
it's a great.
That's dangerous for
And
me.
there's a
I'm
lot
gonna do that.
There you go. So I probably will too. There's some,
Yeah.
but I feel I don't know. A lot of people kind of, for lack of better words, kind of just complain about all these Wii U games being ported to Switch, but like there was only like 12 of us that bought a Wii U, so I mean, it's nice to see these games kind of get a second life, especially because I don't think Nintendo would slow down. These games keep outselling their Wii U counterparts by a lot, so it's gonna be fun. Now we just need Yoshi's Woolly World. That's the only.
Cheese in the chat says
you're forgetting about.
He gives it $2. What, Twilight Princess? Yeah. Cheese in the chat donated $2 and says Link is the girl, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right.
Totally.
Yeah. Because you play as Zelda, so Princess Link. Speaking of Wii U, Crybunny, you recently purchased a Wii U, didn't you?
I did.
For which game?
I feel like Wii U's gonna have a resurgence. Well, I got it for Wind Waker HD. I haven't set it up yet for streaming, but I feel like I'm in on like the cool kids club now because everybody kept talking about it on my stream, and I was like, what is the Wii U versus just the Wii? Everyone says it was just like had a bad PR moment, marketed terribly, nobody knew what it was,
named terribly,
but it seems it's like similar to the Switch, has that whole like gamepad, so I like it so far, and I'm excited to play Wind Waker HD, which I've heard great things about. I played Wind Waker regular, but not HD. So
yeah, the cool thing about Wind Waker HD that differs from Twilight Princess HD is if everyone remembers the Zelda Wii U tech demo.
It's the selfie camera, right? In Wind Waker HD, you can use the Picto Box and have the selfie camera. And
I mean,
that wasn't in Twilight Princess.
It's that one heart piece they moved away and changed it. Like they changed the location of a heart piece randomly.
There's a lot more changes than Twilight Princess, for sure. The good ones, like faster sailing and the selfie camera,
and the shortened trifle quest.
Yes. Sorry, Jesse.
no, you're fine. I was just thinking, Breath of the Wild, they re-implemented that camera in Breath of the Wild, but with the Zelda Wii U tech demo, when they first showed it off, if everyone remembers, Aonuma said that is not the Zelda game that they're working on. It's just a tech demo to show what the Wii U could do, and for the tech demo, they decided to do if Twilight Princess were to be remade for the Wii U, that was potentially what it could look like. And then they started working on Breath of the Wild using that Zelda Wii U engine, and whenever they remade Wind Waker, they said they tested Skyward Sword, Twilight Princess, and Wind Waker all using that Zelda Wii U tech demo engine, which again became the Breath of the Wild engine. And they thought on the Wii U, since you can play Skyward Sword and Twilight Princess from their Wii versions, but you can still play them on the Wii U, but there's no way to play GameCube games on the Wii U, so they felt that it would be the best to remake for the Wii U. That way everyone would have a chance to play all of the newer games, and they can just put the rest on the eShop. And so they remade it using what became the Breath of the Wild engine. And when they remade Twilight Princess for the Wii U, even though they put out the first tech demo stating if they did remake Twilight Princess, that's what it could look like. But because they had a third party, Tantalus, remake it instead of them, they didn't let them use their new engine that was still being worked on. So instead of like how Wind Waker came out looking a lot different and had new lighting and everything and new textures and quite a bit of upgrades, Twilight Princess came out and it had slightly different lighting and just new textures, graphic-wise at least. And I felt that was a huge letdown, because when everyone thought they were going to be releasing Twilight Princess HD, we thought, well, Nintendo told us this is what it could look like, so why wouldn't it look like that? But instead it's just the same game, just in HD, which is still good, but Wind Waker got far more love there.
But the quality of life changes, like everyone complains about the graphics, but the quality of life changes they made for Twilight Princess HD make it really great in my opinion. Like, because you could customize the map if you want like the GameCube or Wii orientation, or if you want the gyro controls on or off, or if you want third or first person aiming. Like, there's so many little options, and plus you can do like the hard mode plus the Ganondorf amiibo to have like 4 times damage from enemies,
The dungeon
which is
they added.
insanely fun.
Yeah, if you hit yourself.
They also changed a few 3D models. In Marlo's Mart, the door frame is like higher poly, but that's the only model in the game that's higher poly in the entire game. They changed that specific door frame to be higher poly, and then that's it. I think they did it because they had to add the Breath of the Wild painting on the wall next to it.
Right.
And it was the same model as the door frame, so they just made it higher poly, I guess.
All right.
We're in the shop.
Well, moving on to Pokemon Snap, which was, again, something I never thought they would actually end up doing. I felt like they put that weird feature in the newest Pokemon game for Switch, and like that was their attempt to be like, here's Pokemon Snap, but it's not really Pokemon Snap, it's just you taking screenshots, pretty much. So are you guys excited for the actual Pokemon Snap that's coming? Starting with you this time, Daniel.
Oh, sure. Speaking of the Wii U, I always felt like the Wii U, Pokemon Snap on the Wii U was a missed opportunity, because if you think about it, like the whole point of the game, you're going. I'm
sorry,
rails.
but I thought you were going to go back to talking about Zelda on the Wii U, because you're like, Pokemon Snap's cool, but what I really missed was Twilight Princess on the HD Wii U.
I could talk that all day, for sure, but but no, I've always felt like that was a missed opportunity on Wii U, because you have like your on rails, your main thing, and you could have had the gamepad basically be your camera, and like your camera item, as the gamepad or whatever, and used it like that, and like for the motion aiming, and also then that I think would effectively use 2 screens properly. The TV screen as like your environment around you, your third person, or like your third person perspective basically of your whole surroundings, and then the gamepad as the actual in-game camera that the character would hold to take these photos. But they just never came out, and now I feel like on Switch it's still going to be great, I'm sure, but I always feel like there's not many games that used the two screens like super effectively, and this could have been one of them, and now we didn't get that. But it's still going to be great. I think presentation wise, every time I see an ad or anything for it, I keep going like, I wish Sword Shield looked this good. Because it really brings you into this world. It makes it feel like these Pokemon are actually like a natural, creatures in this world, and it looks gorgeous. So I'm excited. Yeah.
Imagine all the missed opportunities they could have had with the stamps or throwing bottles in the ocean, if it would have been
also
on
like I know it was just like saying like, oh, people always complain about graphics, and then I went on talking about how great these graphics look. But I feel like a game about photography really is one where having good presentation is super important. So just putting that out there. But I've talked enough now.
All right, Cry
I'm so
Bunny.
excited.
You are streaming through Pokemon right now.
Yeah, I am. So I grew up playing Pokemon Snap, so I'm so excited for it to come out. I had no idea it was coming out, and then, they just blessed us with that information. But yeah, so I'm streaming right now Pokemon Shield to kind of get to know the new generation of Pokemon. Definitely a Gen 1 kind of Pokemon player right now, so I'm really excited. And I hope that there's some, like, I know it's not Professor Oak anymore, but I'm excited to see who's, like, rating my photography again now. He always has some sassy comment, like, you were close. Wonderful. Like, all of his funny little phrases. But I'm excited.
Awesome. Melons, you mentioned you had some stuff to say. Or was that just about the Mario?
Mostly about the Mario, but I do still have some stuff to say about Pokemon. As you said it, Daniel, when you said like you could have the TV display the 3D environment and you would see the first person on the gamepad, that to me like sounds pretty much similar to Star Fox Zero. Like it sounds like the exact same thing, but maybe a bit slower, And I'm imagining, what if you take like a curved TV, right? That's like 180 degree, and then have that, and you just like use the gamepad to take pictures. That would have been a lot more immersive than like a simple TV,
Yeah.
Definitely.
That would be almost be like an arcade version of Pokemon Snap.
Yeah, that would be. Well, they made some arcade versions of Luigi's Mansion, so
Yeah.
maybe.
And Mario Kart.
Pokemon Snap.
They have that really weird Mario Kart VR where you put on the helmet and you have to like reach up to smack the question blocks.
Oh wow.
But about the game itself, they have this new phenomenon called the Lumen phenomenon, I think it's called, where Pokemon just are bigger and they glow in the dark. So, as basic as it sounds, I think it's gonna be really cool because imagine you're in a cave or something, and you cannot see, and then there's just like a Geodude that starts glowing, and you can see around you. So.
What did they do to the Pokemon that makes them glow in the dark?
No, they did this in real life. They took genes from, I think, what was it? A jellyfish, and they put the DNA, mixed it with like cat embryos, and now the cats glow in the dark. So like, you can blame Pokemon, but this is something that they also did in real life.
Oh no.
Has science gone too far? We got a super chat, Jesse.
Cool.
From Tim Hannison, $5, says, I can't wait to get more stickers by taking my cart to Blockbusters. Wait. Oh, yeah. I guess we don't get to go print out your photos at like the shop in real life anymore. Like
you can? They added
is there, like,
a feature.
An IRL kiosk?
No, but they added recently in an update for the Switch. You can pretty much take a picture that you have on the Switch, right? And
send a
save it
smartphone.
on your phone, and then you can print that using Word or something like that. So you just gotta do it at home.
Just not a Blockbuster.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Sorry, Malon. Please continue.
I think it's about it. Like, I'm really hyped about the gameplay. Like, I haven't played the original. I'm gonna say that. I saw videos of it. I think it looks really interesting, and I'm more of a casual gamer, so the type of game where you don't fight, you don't have to do like button presses, like it's not an action game. So to me, it's really appealing, and in a weird way because I didn't like Pokemon Sword and Shield because I found them too not hard, but just complex, I guess, in terms of like all the moves you gotta remember and everything. And then you go to Pokemon Snap and it's just take pictures. So I think it's gonna do very well in terms of sales compared to, I don't know. That's it.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what kind of puzzle mechanics they can come up with using the Switch, where like in the Nintendo 64 to get like Charmander to evolve or something at the volcano, you'd have to throw apples or whatever and let it eat or knock it into the lava or something weird like that. Or no, you'd knock Charmeleon into the lava. So and then like you could get Pikachu on the stump, or you could get Pikachu flying with the balloons, or for some reason could you get him surfing? Surfing on the stump?
Surfing Pikachu. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that was it. And then, what was it? For some reason, Mew was on the moon. I don't know what that was about, but that was kind of cool, I guess. And so I'm just excited to see what all the cool stuff that they'll be able to do with the power and the graphics of the Switch that they weren't necessarily able to do with the Nintendo 64. And because there's a lot more data they can fit on the Switch, there should be a lot more Pokemon than they had on the Nintendo 64 version, because that cart was very limited in size. It was actually another game that was originally developed for the disk drive that held like twice as much data as the cart. So maybe at one point there was more levels and more Pokemon planned, but they had to cut a bunch out like they did with everything else that they moved to the base 64. So I'm excited to see exactly how many Pokemon are in there, and the more they have, obviously that's more gameplay challenges that's in the game, because instead of taking a picture of like 50 Pokemon, now you're taking pictures of 500 or 600, however many they decide to put in there. And yeah, I just want to see what kind of puzzle mechanics or other features. And of course this happens again.
That was a bad time.
Yeah, it always does it when I'm talking. So.
Yeah. Always mid-sentence.
Yeah. So yeah, that's basically it. Maybe it's just the Zelda fan in me, but I'm interested in what kind of new gameplay puzzle mechanics it can have. And I guess that's it, unless anyone else has anything else to add.
I just wish they didn't name it New Pokemon Snap. Like that, because in 10 years you're gonna look back at that game and be like, well, it's not
No,
new.
yeah.
New Super Mario Bro World or something.
Yeah. How old is New Super Mario Bros. Now? Like, come on.
It's not new.
It's not new.
Doesn't age well.
Deluxe.
Yeah, the new soup.
Yeah.
Yeah. They did confirm there was going to be a lot more Pokemon than the original game, but I think the number was like not even half of the whole Pokemon Pokédex. So maybe they're gonna do DLC and add them all. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's fine though. I mean, people always like with Sword Shield. People would complain about the lack of Pokédex, or that it was only like half the total decks. But like that game already has, it was like 400, 500 Pokemon or something, and I'm like, that's already more than enough Pokemon for me, guys. Like, I don't need 1,000 Pokemon to catch here. I'm not gonna do that. So, yeah, I'm fine with that. If they only have like half, that's still a huge amount.
And Pokemon Snap is kind of the easiest game to, instead of doing a sequel with, just updating it, because new levels and new Pokemon is exactly what a sequel would be to that game. So that kind of makes sense. Yes?
This is a completely weird question, but do you think there's going to be a Hey You Pikachu reference in the game? Because when you think about it, both games are very similar.
We can only hope.
Casualness. So.
Does everybody here remember Hey You Pikachu?
I've never had
it. Is that
it.
with the mic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I had a
remember
neighbor
that one.
who... Actually, I didn't have either game, but I had a neighbor who had both Pokemon Snap and Hey You Pikachu when I was a kid, so we...
What are you doing here if you didn't have Pokemon Snap?
And... Well, this was a Zelda podcast!
Melon?
Melon's left.
But there was a lot of games I didn't have as a kid. That I would later go on to purchase later. But yeah, I'd always go over to their house and play and like yell into the mic with Pikachu, and Pikachu would never listen to me. So that's all I have to say about that.
Not enough badges.
Screw you, Pikachu! No, I'm just kidding.
All right, Daniel, do you want to do the next topic?
Yes.
The
number 2. That is actually 3.
No, we had a request from Melons because he had stuff to say, so we let him say stuff.
Yes. Sure. So this is the funny misinformation from Zelda's own website. So really, Zelda Wiki is the way to go, guys. They're actually...
Well, I looked, and there are more stuff on the actual Zelda website that I found using the archive or Wayback Machine or whatever, but Wiki just collected the highlights. So I was like, okay, I guess this works too.
Right. So for those who don't know what's going on, Zelda's official website is notoriously not the best resource for Zelda information, ironically. With mixed canon, with fan fiction, getting those mixed up, having statements that kind of contradict what actually goes on in the games. And according to Zelda Wiki, this was due to it pulling from an early interpretation of the timeline as written by a former Nintendo of America translator instead of the more current accepted timeline that we see in the books like Hyrule Encyclopedia and Hyrule Historia. So... yeah, I don't know. Are we just gonna go through the list here, Jesse, or how do you want to do this formatting wise? We didn't rehearse this, guys. So.
Do we rehearse anything? Oh, there's a $3 chat. It says great show, everyone. I'm glad you think it's great because, as Daniel just said, we have no idea what we're doing. No, so we can just go down the list and just name off a few that we think is funny. So, Daniel, you can take the first one, and then I'll do the second. And while we're doing that, Cry Bunny and Melons can go through and just find one if they think they're funny, and then we'll just do like 2 each or whatever, and then move on to the next. So yeah, basically instead of having Aonuma or someone who actually worked at Nintendo to run the website, it was basically all of your questions you would send in to be answered, or all the information that was going up on the website was like they just found someone whose only job requirement was they could speak Japanese and English, and just let him do whatever he wanted on the website. But this was like back in like 2000, early 2000, so there's a lot of weird funny stuff on there. So Daniel, you can go first.
So one of the funnier bits of misinformation here is it lists Ganondorf was the only male ever allowed into the Gerudo clan, which is not true because he was actually born into it, not allowed in. Whereas in the case of Ocarina of Time, it's actually Link that's like allowed into to join the clan, as opposed to being born into it. So it's just like a weird, probably a phrasing issue, but also probably wasn't the only one ever in all of its history. It's just super, super rare for men to be born into the Gerudo. So I don't know, weird phrasing issue, but that one stands out to me because it's like that's literally his origin, his race. It's like if I was born and they're like, you're allowed in this family, you're the only one. I don't know. That's all I got, Jesse.
All right. The one that I thought was funny was, where is it? Yeah, in Majora's Mask, it says, the bombers, well, this one guy. That's who this guy is, just this one guy. It says, the bombers have nothing better to do than cause trouble and goof around. And then the correction is, in-game evidence shows that while the bombers did lounge around, they did spend a good portion of their time helping people, which is the exact opposite of what this guy says with his headcanon. So, Melons, have you found one yet?
I'm reading through it, but the one that I really like, well, not like, but find it funny is the Tinkle Tower in the Wind Waker was created to humor weary travelers. Huh? Like, okay? Like, what kind of fact is that? It's like saying, I put like bread, I eat bread in the morning. Like, what kind of fact is that, you know?
I always felt like Tingle's Tower was like just this monument to his own ego, not for anyone else. he has slave labor happening on that island.
Like, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yikes.
All right, Cry Bunny, have you found any that you thought were funny?
Okay, I found one I like.
Okay.
For Wind Waker, it sounds like Godon, who is the boss of Wind Waker, was described by the encyclopedia as a mysterious creature, when he's actually just a robot, and he's described as a machine, I guess, in the game. But a mysterious creature is a much more interesting term.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. He's not really even a creature, though. He's like almost like the Guardians from Breath of the Wild, right? Like he's
a machine.
Machine. Yeah.
All right, Daniel, back to you.
Back to me. Oh gosh. Let's see what else we got. I should have been more prepared.
Oh, I found the one that's like.
This one's also Wind Waker. Wind Waker. It said that Link's grandma gave him his tunic to help him on his journey, which it actually had nothing to do with that. It was given to him as part of tradition. It was for his birthday. Not to help him on his journey. It's not like it provides any armor.
Because no one knew he was going on a journey.
Yeah, they didn't know.
His sister... the grandma planned the kidnapping. That's what was going on.
Grandma's secretly an agent of Ganon.
Alright, so this one I thought was funny. It says, the creation of Termina, which is a topic never explored in Majora's Mask, is easily explained as an oversight of the goddesses. So I clicked this and went to read more of it, and it's basically saying when the goddesses only meant to create Hyrule, but some of their inexperience with their magic had them like accidentally create Termina, which is why Termina has like the upside down Triforces, and they don't worship Hylia there, but like there's the Stone Tower Temple, which is like all evil and stuff, and Majora's Mask and all that nonsense. And it's like, this is getting way too much into like your own fan theories instead of going by like what the game actually says. And the main thing about this list is if you imagine you're back in the year 2000 or 2002 or whenever this was up, and you actually have real questions. So you're going and you're thinking someone who worked on the game is messaging you back and answering these messages from you of these questions you have. But everything they're telling you and literally every other person that's asking a question is just completely wrong. And a lot of these end up, if you actually play the game, there's text or stuff in the actual game that disproves the stuff that they're saying. So it's like he doesn't even have to use his imagination to come up with a lot of these answers. If he would have just played the game, the answers would have been there that he could have used, or if he used like a walkthrough or something. Yeah, so back to you, Millens. Do you have... I guess this will be your final one, and then we'll do the last one.
Did you do the one about Coholint Island?
No.
Okay, Coholint Island is a real location. It exists on the Great Sea in the Wind Waker. Okay. That's it.
Whoever wrote that never finished the game.
Both games.
Didn't play Link's Awakening.
You didn't know Coholint Island was in Wind Waker, Daniel?
It's not. It's not in Wind Waker. That is false.
Yeah, for those that don't know, Coholint Island's the name of the island created by the Windfish for Link's Awakening. Which I guess is supposed to happen maybe around the same time as Wind Waker, but they're in different timelines. But anyways, yeah. Crybunny, have you picked yours yet? I know a lot of these may not be as funny to you since you haven't played through all of the games, but...
I'm finding the Wind Waker ones. I get those ones. So it sounds like Medli... They said Medli was a Rito princess, but in reality she was just an apprentice to Valu. So not a princess?
Yeah.
Sad.
Yeah, if anything, Komali was the royalty in that game, not Medli.
Yeah.
Well, he's the prince, so would that make Medli the princess?
But they're not like an item, right? She's like she's like an attendant, you know? But they're not like a couple in the game. Or I never got that vibe, I don't know.
Yeah, but I like, are they brother and sister? Like, is that ever said?
No, I don't think so.
Could it be the case?
They don't act like siblings. The chief never talks about her. He just talks about his son, Komali.
It could just be a horrible parent.
Yeah, that too.
Oh no, he's got the favorite child. I mean, she's the older sibling. If they were siblings, which they're not, she would be the older sibling too, right? So she would be the one that would have to like, you know, inherit all these titles and stuff like that. Not him then. Unless they're just really sexist, so I don't know.
I'm guessing the guy that replied to that answer saw a screenshot of Medli and Komali together, and he was like, "Oh, prince, haha."
Yeah. Maybe it's a type of thing where she helps you in Wind Waker and Princess Ruto helps you in Ocarina of Time. So maybe they were just thinking, or assuming that the same thing happened. But we can go to the mailbag now. I'll post a link to that list that we just went through and their actual website at the time in the description of the video once this is posted if anyone wants to go check it out, because there's a ton of hilarious stuff in there. But for now we're going to be answering your questions. So you can ask questions about anything. If you have any life advice, Daniel is always here for you. But if you have anything Zelda related, we prefer that. So, yeah, we have a few questions on the mailbag section at the bottom of the document, if anyone wants to go check that out and pick their questions. But I thought it would be fun to start off first with a correction as well as a question, or really a topic, that Crybunny had. Because when I asked her, she said that she wanted to talk about the possible relationships in Zelda, right? Not necessarily Zelda and Link, but yeah. So so I thought we could put this as the first part of the Zelda mailbag, as we all decide which questions we want, and the chat puts their questions in there. And the correction I wanted to make was I shared with you the other day when I found it, and Daniel corrected me earlier. So I have the the digital version of, well, I have the actual book, but I also have the digital version that I use to put stuff in videos that we're editing of all of the different Zelda books, like Creating a Champion that Daniel's pulling out. And there was an image that someone made a while back, I guess, where it had a deleted cutscene between Zelda and Link. And while the game sort of implies that there's something going on there, and like at various points, even Mipha seems like she's kind of jealous of Zelda and Link spending so much time together. But there was a fake page going around showing a deleted cutscene of Zelda and Link sharing a kiss and having whatever. And apparently it was removed from the game, but it never happened. It was just, I guess, a prank someone was pulling. But the pages do look like they actually fit in there, and since Creating a Champion is all about stuff that was taken out of Breath of the Wild, it kind of made sense for it to be there. But Daniel corrected me because he's seen it and was like, I haven't seen that, and he went and checked the book. To where I'm dumb, and I have, there's
a plot twist.
There's some
400
so
pages.
It's a fake page.
Yeah,
Wow.
there are some pages missing from, sorry?
It was fan art by a page called the Nebulace, who, if you've seen, like, look them up on Instagram, they're very good fan art. They replicate the Breath of the Wild art style.
Apparently.
Magnificent. As you can see from the from the images,
It's very effective, yeah.
Yes. But you'll notice in the corner of the page, it says it's page 415 and 416. This is the actual page 415 and 416. It's like a chapter,
wow.
like a break between chapters. It's
Myth busting over here.
Masterpiece loading screen.
Yeah, exactly. So it has nothing to do with. In fact, the section that talks about the memories is way farther back in the book than that. So it's. I think they just chose some random page numbers to throw in there too. So
yeah. So
yeah.
my
so
problem
wild.
is my little brother has my copy of Creating a Champion, and I usually just reference the digital version, which has a few pages missing. From where I've just like scattered them all over my computer and then tried to recompile them into the same folder. But I sent copies of them to Daniel and some of the other people that work on the videos and podcast with us, so they can use them as reference guides when editing videos or doing research or whatever. But anyways, because there were some pieces or pages missing from my Creating a Champion's digital version, I just assumed this was one of the pages that was also missing. So I put it in there, and I thought it was cool, and I was like, oh, I don't remember this. So I shared it with a few people, and Daniel was the one that I shared it with that was like, hey, so I checked the actual book because these were interesting to me, and they were not there. So I was like, really? That takes away a whole topic that I had planned for the thing. So,
but the Nebulace, they did watermark it as well. It's quite subtle, but that was kind of my tip off there as well. I was like, wait a second, I've seen that username before. So, oops.
Yeah.
Sneaky.
So since this is your topic or your question, however you want to put it, what are some of your favorite relationships in the Zelda series that you're a fan of?
Yeah, I like because as somebody who's new to Zelda, I just thought it was assumed like Link and Zelda were like a thing, but then getting to play the game more, it's like Mipha is kind of a character that there's some interest with, and then I was watching people play Ocarina of Time. Yeah, and Sidon, always Sidon. It's just a given. Do we even need to say? And then yeah, like watching people play Ocarina of Time, meeting Malon. I just didn't realize that there were so many other like things going on, and like playing Breath of the Wild, everybody's like going through it. There's like the Lover's Pond. People are getting married in Terrytown. Like, there's a lot of... Everyone's just going through it. I feel for them.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Maybe they're all just like, well, Link's here to save the day. We can all start going on dates again.
Exactly.
So, in Ocarina of Time, there was a big debate about who... Because in Twilight Princess, we... know now that it's canon, where used to it was just kind of a theory. Even everyone said it was a theory, even though the game just straight up tells you that this is the case. But Nintendo had to actually come out and state it for everyone to know. But the non-theory of Link from Ocarina of Time being the great whatever grandparent of the Link from Twilight Princess, since we know that's the case, it leaves the idea open. Okay, well, who did Link in Ocarina of Time end up having a marriage or a relationship with? And his main three people, yeah, and his main three people in that game was, well, technically 4 maybe, but that, like, I don't, one's just weird, but it's
yeah, there's only one that you can't debunk.
No, so the thing is, like, I said one's weird, and you might think I'm talking about Princess Ruto and Link being weird, but the weird one was Nabooru.
Ooh, the age difference is weird, though.
Yeah, no.
But also, like, people ship Link with Saria in that game, and she's a Kokiri, so I take issue with that, because she's a literal child. It doesn't matter how old she is in years, she will always literally be a child. They're children of the forest. And I'm like, no, off limits. No. Like, no. You cannot ship this Hylian character who
she's technically like a wood
literal child.
She's like a living wood stump.
She's 100 years old.
It doesn't matter how old she is. She's still got the body and mind of like a 10-year-old. So
yeah. And as we know, they were originally meant to only get their fairies once they turned into an adult. So that could have been a plot point at one time, and then they switched it. And there's also interviews where Miyamoto was really into the idea of Navi going the whole game having a huge crush and wanting a relationship with Link and being super jealous that he and Zelda... Yeah. Navi would get super jealous during the story that he and Zelda were spending so much time talking to each other. So while I think that could have been a bit comedic, I think it was kind of good that it was cut from the game. And then there's the 3 main choices is obviously Princess Zelda, Princess Ruto, and Link obviously chooses the non-princess Malon of Lon Lon Ranch. Because
if Twilight Princess Link is Ocarina of Time Link's descendant, obviously it can't be Zelda because Twilight Princess Link is not royalty. Mm-hmm. He works on a farm. He's a farmhand.
He's not half fish.
He's not half fish, so it's not Ruto. There's no interspecies Zora Hylian relationship there.
Although in Breath of the Wild,
that's true. There is a Zora Hylian couple in Breath of the Wild. That's true.
Wait, I thought it was Gerudo.
There is also Gerudo Hylian couple.
No, I thought it was Gerudo Zora.
There's a side quest in Zora's domain where there's a Zora who's sending love letters downstream and communicating back and forth with her suitor, who is a Hylian. Mm. So, and then you end up reuniting them. And
I'm obviously a fake
weird,
Zelda fan.
It's a weird side quest though, and it's annoying because you have to it's basically an escort mission while the love note in a barrel floats downstream, and you have to make sure it doesn't break. Yeah. And there's like Lizalfos and rocks and stuff, and you're just like, it breaks hard. So easily. It's hard.
I lost sight of it. I didn't do that one yet. I lost sight of it. I'm a bad messenger.
Oh no. It's okay. She's got backups though, because if you fail and you go talk to her, she's like, all right, well, we'll just send another one.
Melons.
Time she was like writing it out, the same letter over and over again.
Melons, what is your favorite idea relationship throughout the Zelda series?
Well, you mentioned that Link had 3, choices, I guess, in Ocarina of Time. I'm most likely certain it was Malon because of the fact that Link's horse in Twilight Princess is also by default named Epona. Mm. And if you take the fact that Link by default is named Link, then what happened is that they kept the name Epona for, I guess, the horse that they had, right, from Malon that named it back in OT.
And Link in Twilight Princess by default knows Epona Song, which Malon had to teach to Link.
And had lyrics that were going to be sung in the game when the game was originally made, which is weird. I sent the lyrics to Daniel the other day. Miyamoto himself wrote lyrics and made it what he calls a country song.
Interesting.
Yeah, because Miyamoto in an interview said he was a big fan of westerns and country music, and he always likes trying to play guitar. So whenever they had Epona Song, he thought it was his idea or his way that he could write a song that could be like instantly popular because everyone was going to play the game anyway. So
Hidden Village had a whole Western theme where you shot down goblins with your bow, and
That's
it was
true.
insane.
yeah. Daniel, tell us a little bit. Wait, were you do you have more melons? Or were you done?
No, I'll
Okay.
tell you what I had to say.
Daniel, tell us about my favorite relationship side quest from Skyward Sword.
The relationship side quest?
Yeah. The toilet.
Oh.
Throw a smash.
Where who is it? Colin?
No, Skyward Sword. The hand from the toilet returns
yeah,
in Skyward Sword.
Yeah, and Colin has a crush, or he writes a love letter to 𝐿, and you can choose to either deliver it to her or give it to the ghost hand that possesses the toilet. And either way, it ends badly because it ends badly either way because the ghost hand does, return the feelings towards Colin, but she's a ghost hand that lives in a toilet, so that's. And then you find him unable to sleep at night while it's like the ghost hand is stroking his face. It's just all kinds of messed up.
Yeah, because the ghost hand interprets it as a letter to the ghost hand, which is at first just asking for paper to wipe, and then.
But if you give it to 𝐿, then her, the feelings go unrequited. She actually doesn't love Colin back, so then it still ends in heartbreak. Either way for poor Colin, which is just kind of sad because he's just this stocky little guy that wants to be loved.
And if we're being honest, Pippin is like the stereotypical guy you would expect to get all the girls, so it's like,
oh yeah,
it kind of makes sense in the end. Because even Link looks up to him like, oh, I wish I could be more like that guy. And it's like, you literally saved the princess. Why are you looking up to him?
Isn't Pippin the guy with the bugs?
No, that's Stretch. Pipit's the guy.
He's the knight.
Oh, the yellow tunic guy.
He's one of the.
Okay, yeah.
If you fall off Skyloft like an idiot, as I always do, he's the guy that comes and saves you from going splat. Oh, Rick's in the chat. It says saving Jessie is the best Zelda quest.
That's true.
I'm sure Rick did save me many times as we were walking from like the 10 miles it took to get from
LA?
Yeah, the LA Convention Center where E3 was, because I had the smart idea. I was like, oh, let's just get dropped off at the convention center and walk in 100-degree weather carrying giant bags full of our clothes and laptops and all of our recording equipment back to this place that we've never been, that we've never even seen or know where it is, which was the house that we were renting in LA. Yeah. My dumb idea was like, yeah, I'm sure it's like 5 minutes away, and it was like 2-hour walk. And then I had rashes the whole time I was in LA, which was horrible because I had the giant straps on my shoulder and I was getting sunburnt and everything. So yes, Rick did save my life. But yeah, does anyone have anything else to say on this before we go to the other questions?
There's some good. I don't ship a lot of I don't do a lot of shipping in Zelda most of the time.
Yeah.
I think Skyward Sword, Link, and Zelda is one of the few ones where it's pretty rooted in the story that they're a thing. So I can get behind that one, especially because the game makes you work so hard for it,
Yeah.
But someone in the chat actually mentioned Mikau and Lulu from Majora's Mask, and I'm like,
oh yeah,
that's a good one. Like everyone thinks
that's
Majora's
a sad
Mask
one.
Lovers, Anju and Cafe, like everyone assumes that side quest is the one, which is a good one because you get to reunite this couple. But the Mikau and Lulu one is really tragic actually because their babies get kidnapped by Gerudo pirates.
Oh yeah,
Mikau
that is right.
Dies, and
every time I think of the eggs, I'm just like, oh, I gotta collect those stupid eggs. But then
they're babies, and their father died.
If it was Breath of the Wild, you would have the option to cook the eggs.
Oh, that's true. Oh gosh, yeah, but it's really quite tragic, and Lulu becomes so depressed that she stops speaking altogether because of it, and it's just the whole sitch is just terrible. It's just quite tragic.
Yeah.
It's,
and then there's the weird pervy guy that's spying on her while she's in the dressing room.
Oh yeah, that's weird too. But you can like, just shoot him off. So at least there's that. You can do the right thing.
He runs away.
And he runs at top speed. He's like, oh, I wasn't doing anything. And yeah, exactly.
All right, so I actually thought of another one that I forgot. But what was it? There was a really funny one that I had in my head. I'll bring it up later if it comes back. So
Malon, did you type Lincoln Great Fairies?
Yeah.
I think Link's always terrified of the Great Fairies.
I mean, it's only one way, but it's there.
Oh no. That's tragic.
Oh, I remembered my thing. So Ocarina of Time is the most interesting because, like, most people that have an idea on this, you either know that there's nothing there, or you have your own theory. But most of those theories are always one of two, and that's Zelda and Link and Ocarina of Time, to where most people that have a theory about them think that it's either they're meant to be in some sort of relationship, or they're meant to be brother and sister. And I think it's interesting how it's complete opposite on everyone's theories, to where, like, Daniel and I, whenever we had the Geek Apprentice on the first time, that was one of her questions that she had, was if they were brother and sister. And so I don't know how people come to that conclusion, but I also don't see how they come to the conclusion that they're in a relationship or meant to be in a relationship during that. So I always find it interesting that everyone's thoughts are just the exact opposite on those two.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Daniel, do you have a question picked out?
Mailbag question.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just the first one on here in our Zelda mailbag. Jelly asked, do you think a Zelda movie would be possible after seeing this again with nostalgia? I think so. I assume by seeing this they mean that, like, all the beta stuff.
No, it was the...
Stuff.
I forgot to add the link. It was the fan film someone made a while back that they were going to send to Nintendo, but it got rejected. It was kind of like based off Twilight Princess. But it also had Zelda. Like, the animated one where they're, like, CG on the horse and stuff. And of course it goes out again. Hi, everyone. Sorry about this. I promise. It's all Daniel's fault. Don't blame me. What? I wasn't saying anything. I didn't say that. Why would you think I said that?
Because no matter what happens to Jesse in any situation ever, it's somehow my fault. You can go on Jesse's Twitter and see how many times he writes #blame Daniel. It's enough to make a grown man cry.
By the way, Dan, your cam is offset again.
Oh no! I don't know why it's doing that. I'm just gonna switch it off and on.
There we go, kinda.
I think we lost Cry Bunny as well.
She was plugging her headphones. Oh no, changing the lighting.
Ooh.
Sorry,
Whoa.
guys, having technical difficulties. I'm getting new headphones.
Okay.
1 sec.
No
Keep
problem.
going.
It's not a real podcast unless there's technical difficulties.
True.
So that's just the facts.
Well,
That's
this
how it
gives
is.
time for questions to build up in the chat, at least.
True.
So
But,
everyone,
Zelda movie.
questions, chat, now. Or else Daniel will come to your house and cook you breakfast.
I will not. I won't.
He will come to your house and cook you breakfast, unless you post. You might think that would be a good thing, but that is a threat.
It's not. I'm decent in the kitchen. Anyways, Zelda movie. Before they announced a Mario movie was being made, I would have said no. But Nintendo's such a wild card, and they're making a Mario movie, so who knows? It could happen, but I really don't want to, this is my unpopular opinion. I really don't want a Zelda movie. I don't. Because I feel like if they had to do it, please don't adapt an existing game into a movie, because it just won't it'll leave something to be desired. You know what I mean? Whereas
I posted a link to the video he was referring to, by the way, if you guys want to check it out.
I've seen that one actually. That one, it was a decent sort of thing. But I think, well, first of all, a lot of people want like very Lord of the Rings-esque, big, gritty, dark live action movie, and I just feel like that's pretty far removed from Zelda for me. Like Lord of the Rings was great, but it was also not Zelda. So nah. So I could see them doing a sort of, I don't know, an animated series, maybe Studio Ghibli-esque style of something with Zelda. Sure, I would rather like.
You mean you don't
if
want?
I had to choose, I would rather nothing. I would rather just let the games be games, because there's an interactive element that is lost in that medium, right?
So you're saying you don't want the people that made the Minions making a Zelda movie?
Like, if someone held me at gunpoint and they're like, "We're making this happen," like, choose something, I'd say like, okay, we'll make it like a Netflix series or something. Like, make an animated series where you can take your time to tell a good story and flesh out these characters the way they deserve to be treated.
Because that went so well last time.
Otherwise it'll just be like the Avatar, the Last Airbender movie. That's what I don't want to see, right? And then Nintendo will get all spooked about exploring their IPs in other mediums, and then we'll never see anything else again, and we'll be all sad. So
see, Nintendo had the exact opposite reaction that who was it? The creator of Dragon Ball Z had, because he always had anime, and then he'd make his animated feature-length animated movies. But then Hollywood made an actual Dragon Ball Z movie, and
didn't it suck though?
Yeah, it sucked really bad. But instead of doing like Nintendo, where the Mario movie didn't do well, they ended up like not making any other animated stuff or live action stuff. The creator of Dragon Ball Z hated it so much that even though he had not written a comic or done an anime for Dragon Ball or whatever in like 10 or 15 years, it made him basically come out of retirement to restart Dragon Ball and make a new movie. So that's how the whatever Dragon Ball Z Battle of the Gods and the Dragon Ball Super anime restarted. So if it did something like that for Nintendo, to where like, oh, this sucks so bad that Miyamoto's like, I have to do this myself, and then he just like puts out a really, really good game to even out the bad from the good in the Zelda series, to like give it back to the fans. I think that would be really cool, because it's been a long time since Miyamoto's actually been the direct part of making a Zelda game. So having something so bad come out to where Miyamoto's like, okay, no longer am I creative fellow, which is his weird job title at Nintendo, where he just sits in a room thinking of cool ideas. But for him to go back to directly working on a Zelda game and saying what kind of game he would make now, since the last one he made was Ocarina of Time, and then he had a little bit to do with Skyward Sword. But, yeah. Yeah, next question. Crybunny, do you have one? No, everyone, you just gave your thoughts, Daniel. Stop talking so much.
I just talked so
Crybunny, what was your thoughts on a Zelda movie? Yeah.
On a Zelda movie?
Yeah, that was
I'm intrigued, but I feel like it's tricky territory, because it's something that's so like nostalgic and personal to people. Like what actor do you pick to play whatever character, and people have associations with different actors, and like,
I know one.
I feel like it would just be very divisive. But I mean, I would see it if it's out there. I'm not saying I wouldn't watch it, but I think that people have a lot of strong opinions on the cast and seeing it all come to life. You don't want to ruin something that's so personal and, precious to you.
All right. Melons.
High stakes.
I'm gonna say something that is a theory, and basically I'm gonna predict something right now. I'm thinking they've been actually working on a Zelda movie or anime or whatever. They've been working on something Zelda related, like, that's big, right? But they're waiting for Breath of the Wild 2 before releasing it, because such a movie or anime would require Link to speak, right? In some sort of way. Unless it's Navi always speaking, then that'd be kind of dumb.
I feel like they got to do away with the silent protagonist thing if they make it a movie or a TV show or something.
If Link speaks in Breath of the Wild 2 as a twist, right? And then they release the anime where Link also speaks, people are going to be used to it at that point.
I just thought if they got the same voice actor from like the CDI games.
No.
Oh god. Oh boy.
Can't wait to bump some dangos.
Yeah, exactly.
No, so Daniel and I, one of our friends, Orion, who actually played Link in a cool little 5-minute fan trailer for a Zelda movie that actually had a full script that the director sent to me to look over and give him suggestions, because I think he actually sent it to Nintendo as like a proof of concept with the trailer, and it was actually a really, really cool script. But Daniel, how do you feel about the concept they had with getting around the Link not talking thing? Because
they just used Navi.
Yeah.
To like
everyone's favorite.
That's the Hyrule Warriors approach of Hyrule Warriors gave proxy to voice all of Link's lines.
But they did it
instead,
first.
And Link was like, huh! And yeah, Orion's felt. I can't remember what the name of the little like. That worked fine because it was a kind of an exposition scene with Zelda explaining stuff and Link listening more so than anything else, and it was like a 5-minute thing, so it worked in that context. But I can't imagine sitting through a whole movie of that. Like, I don't think a whole movie of Link of having a silent protagonist, just for the kind of stories that Zelda tells, I don't feel like it would work very well, or it would feel just super awkward, you know? I don't know. It's especially because in the games, like, you can kind of insert yourself into the role of Link. That's the whole idea. And so his silences are, he's not like mute, he's just like kind of a man of few words, right? So, but there's scenes like when you have dialogue options where you pick things, and Link emotes a lot, and even in, say, some cutscenes in Twilight Princess, you pretty much could have had dubbed with him talking, where it just has no text box, but it even shows his mouth moving, explaining things to like the mayor in the beginning. And he's like, and same with Skyward Sword. In one of the beginning cutscenes, there's a whole thing where Zelda's dad is like, Link, tell me what happened, and then the camera pans out and fades to black as Link is like, and so there's like always the implication that Link speaks. We just don't see it because of this sort of characterization where you're supposed to step into the role of Link, really.
Yeah.
So like they couldn't really work that into a movie because you'd have to, like, Link doesn't talk a lot, but it's not like he's technically a mute character. He's just a silent protagonist in that way, right? Yeah, so I don't know. Like, I just feel like there's so many compromises they'd have to make, though, to make a Zelda movie. That, like Bunny said, like, there's so many opinions people have about, well, should Link speak in the movie? What actor would they have play Link, right? I feel like they couldn't.
Daniel.
I don't know. I'd just make a Zelda TV show without Link in it whatsoever. I would watch the hell out of that. Like, imagine a Zelda TV series where all this stuff's going wrong, and they're like, where's the hero? There's supposed to be, legend has it, a hero's supposed to appear,
Wind Waker.
and he's nowhere, you know, and the people have to, like, pull together their own stuff and just pull Link out of the equation entirely.
Yeah, and then when Link does show up...
Adventure.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny, because you mentioned that, and that's the backstory to Wind Waker, but when the hero does show up, he spends, like, part of the game, he's just, like, hiding behind a house, taking random pictures of this girl in the middle of the night and meowing like a cat. So, yeah.
Right.
For those who don't know, there's a side quest in Wind Waker where Link does have voice acting, and they use it for him to make cat sounds. Can you imagine? It's like, after 20 years...
Wind Waker's a great example. When you have the statues, and Link goes, come on! At them, right? So... Yeah, no, I don't know.
But
it's
just
like a little blurb.
Yeah, just imagine it's been like 15, 20 years of no voice acting in Zelda games, and you're the person, the one voice actor they get in to do the voice of Link. And then they're like, okay, we need you to meow. And you're like, what about all the text that's on the screen? Can we start with that? And they're like, no, we just need a good meow.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, Bunny, do you have your question picked out now?
My question from the Zelda mailbag?
Yeah.
Yes.
Or the live chat.
Great. Oh. Let me see. I saw one in the chat actually that was asking what everybody thinks the hardest side quest is. Is there like one that's like notorious for being very, very difficult?
Yes. In Twilight Princess, there's a little puzzle box thing that has a ball rolling around in it. That took me like 2 days to figure out.
Goal! Oh, I like pushed it out of my memory because I hate it so much. And it's so pointless.
Yeah, people complained about the Breath of the Wild ball rolling in the maze puzzles, but Twilight Princess had that with way much inferior motion control and absolutely what was it? The actual puzzles had much more complicated mazes. That was at the fishing pond, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's at the fishing pond, but it's not fishing related, and she's got it on the counter there. I can't remember the character's name. 𝐴𝐳 or something.
Officially canon, the descendant of the fisherman from Ocarina of Time. And there's pictures of that fisherman on the wall behind them. Like mine.
But, it's just this horrible thing.
My wall has pictures of all the people that love me. Just like the fisherman.
That breaks my heart.
No. All my posters are on the other wall. So you can't see them, but they're there. Not that video games love me either, but no. So Daniel, what's yours?
Hardest side quest? Since you said roll goal, which I had
Is that the
pushed
name?
out of my memory, it's called roll goal because you have to roll a little marble into the goal, and it's terrible and so hard. Hardest.
What do you get if you win? Is it a heart or is it just rupees?
No, I think it's just you don't need to do it to get all the heart pieces for sure.
So like do this and you can fish again.
I just don't even bother doing it when I play that game. I completely ignore it.
All right.
Because I hate it.
Melons, do you have one?
Archery in Ocarina of Time, especially the N64 version compared to the 3D version.
I love it.
I hate it. You have to do 1,500 points. You press the joystick like this. You just do this, and the camera goes at 360 degrees.
See, Bunny, this is why Canada's so divided.
I love archery minigames in all of Zelda. It's great. Except for Skyward Sword. But no. Okay, sorry, go on, Malon.
It's terrible. It only gives you, I think it's like a piece of heart, or no, it gives you the quiver, right?
Quiver.
So it's optional, but it's like it asks you to basically aim perfectly for the center of a target like 15 times, and you can miss like 10 times. 5 times.
But if you just like this is the horseback one you're thinking of, right? Like if you just aim it, like Link will stay stationary in that spot, won't he? Like if you just aim the first one, and then the horse moves, but you just keep the angle and you go in a straight line, you could just stay aiming the same way and as long as you time it right, you can get them all.
For the pots, but for the big target in the middle that doesn't move, no.
Yeah. No, the big ones at either end, sure, but the ones you go across, like past, because you go past the pots and then a row of targets, and then there's a target at either end. But
you have to move left. You have to slightly move the joystick left and then mash the button to shoot. Not for the pots, but for the target.
Maybe I just am biased because I love it too much because I love archery.
I actually like it in the 3DS version with motion controls, but I hate it on N64.
I love the debate, but I will say at least you get something if you complete all the different times it might take you to do the archery, and you're like, oh, I got really good aim riding Epona. That's awesome. But on the other one, it's just like, oh, the ball went in the hole.
Good job.
Congratulations. Here's 10 rupees. You can either play again or go fish. No. So, Bunny, do you have one? What's your favorite side quest been through the games you've played so far?
Well, the hardest one for me so far was...
hardest. Yeah, I said favorite.
Yeah. Favorite's a whole other story. Hardest was a shrine quest. It's one of the ones on the, I don't forget the name of it. It's the snowy mountain to the right of Gerudo Town. You have to be at, like, a specific point at the specific time of day with the snowball and get the snowball shadow to land directly in the center of one of those shrine platforms. And I just couldn't do that for the life of me. But then somebody told me that you could also use Cryonis or whatever, and that shadow would work. So that made it like 10 times easier.
What?
But I struggled with this. Yes, you can do it. And there's like a water pond there, and you can cryo, and then you don't even have to use the snowball.
You just saved my life.
Standing with a snowball above my head for
I know.
like 12 minutes straight.
I didn't know that
Oh
either.
my gosh.
Cryo worked. That's how I beat it. Cryo, so
That is
not so hard anymore.
Yeah, that's like when someone told me in Master Mode. Master Mode was when I learned the old man gave you a sweater.
Oh, the what's it called? The warm clothes, the warm doublet.
Yeah, yeah. Because I got it from the old man after that shrine, but if you get it before, then it's a lot easier, especially in Master Mode.
There's two. There's I guess
There's
3 ways you can.
one.
You can wait till 𝐾𝐸𝐸 and buy it, or you can get it from him at his hut by like helping him get his recipe, or you can go to the top of the mountain and get it from him there. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he gives it to you after the shrine.
Right. If you don't know, he doesn't give it to you. You
Did
need
he
to go
not?
at the top
You
of
can
the
go
mountain.
before.
Or you help him with the fish dish you need to make.
Yeah.
And if you forget to get it, if you go back to his hut after the plateau, after he disappears, there's a chest and the doublet is in there.
Oh. So there's 4 ways to get it then.
Yeah, and you can buy it 4 ways.
Okay.
3 of them being free.
I didn't know about the chest.
Can we all agree
Now I know.
that our favorite minigame or side quest is the one that involves the guy who has the minigame in Wind Waker that keeps going sploosh, kabloom.
Salvador's actually that one is there's the one in because there's 2. There's the one on the Spectacle Island, right, where you have the cannon and you're shooting the barrels in the water, and then the one on Windfall Island that's like basically Battleship, like the board game.
Yeah.
I hate that one because it's all random. Like it's completely random. There's no like discernible pattern or anything. You can blow through so many rupees just because you don't know. You only have so many shots and it's all random.
For those that don't know,
There's no
it's basically what game is it? Battleship. Yeah, it's Battleship basically, but you have a real cannon. Yeah.
Fun fact about the one on Spectacle Island. Why did my mouth do a B sound? I don't know. If you place the boat where the barrels are usually, and then you shoot the boat instead of the barrels, it counts as a point.
What?
It counts as a point, and you can spam it to win easily.
What? The poor King of Red Lions, though.
Yep, but it gives you rupees.
I feel like I was watching Chiblima. She was doing a stream on Twitch, and she kept on doing that over and over again because she couldn't get it. She would have to go out and try to find more rupees so she could go back and get it.
That's the fastest way to get rupees, yeah.
Yeah, so we only have 2 more questions left until we end. So, yeah, Melons, do you have a question picked out?
Yeah, let me look at that right now. There's the one that said that from Patrick Colcon. Is that how you spell it?
I'm not sure.
Anyway, Patrick Colcon, who says, they suggested dungeons in Breath of the Wild 2 could be designed like the dungeons in the Silent Hill games, with a map that updates as you discover things. So in Silent Hill, you have areas that like change over time, right? And more of it unlock the more you progress. And he's basically asking if Breath of the Wild 2 could have something similar for the dungeons. And I mean, if Breath of the Wild 2 is indeed like a cave system, like some people are believing it is, I could see that being the case where you have like a thing blocked off until you do something else. So that's a possibility, yeah.
Yeah, and
what about you, Daniel?
Daniel.
I think
Anything's possible.
Anything's possible, yeah.
Daniel shut me up really quick on an idea I heard from someone about cave systems, so I don't talk about cave systems anymore. Yeah.
I feel like I need to play more Silent Hill to answer this. I haven't played any Silent Hill because I'm too squeamish. So
the description is kind of what Aonuma said in an interview about Breath of the Wild, where he said the overworld was a lot more dynamic than other games, and that it would change and evolve with the player, and that sounds sort of like what that would do. But I think it's going to be different anyways. Like, it's not going to be like the past that we see in Age of Calamity, but it'll be sort of like that, but how it would look if it was rebuilt and slightly different as opposed to looking the exact same. And a lot of people say, well, if it starts right after Breath of the Wild, they won't have enough time to rebuild Hyrule, and I'm like, they literally have the power of the Triforce. They can wish anything they want. So,
look how fast they built Tarry Town in Breath of the Wild.
Tarry Town, yeah.
Yeah, in the first game, so that went up pretty quick. I mean, it's only like 6 buildings, but
yeah.
still.
You just had to like completely destroy the ozone layer in Hyrule by cutting down every single tree that exists to get all the wood you need.
No.
That's what
They grow back.
like. You have to get the wood, but you also have to pay them.
Yeah.
For the wood.
So
For
yeah.
the labor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's like you would think like you're doing all the hard work cutting down the trees, and they're doing the hard work of finishing your house that you technically should already own.
Business. It's just business.
Is it? It seemed like they were just sitting next to the house waiting on a sucker to come around anyway.
They gotta make a living.
Or maybe they heard Link came back, so then they were like, hey, do you think we can sell him back his own house?
Doesn't remember anything.
Yeah. This is perfect. Daniel, do you have a question that you picked out? Not your own questions. You're not lucky enough to have your own questions answered.
Aye, that's fair. Yeah, there's Ben Whitfield asked, do you think that the Descendants of the Champions will play a big part of Breath of the Wild 2 because of Age of Calamity? Do they think they'll remember going back in time, etc.? There's a bit of a... Well, I think it's been long enough for Age of Calamity spoilers, but...
There's so...
I hope. But do they... If they play a bigger role, I would say... I would hope so, because, we got Sidon, Yunobo, Teba, and Riju were pretty important in Breath of the Wild. They're pretty much the only characters you basically have to interact with in order to do the story. Aside from Zelda, right, and the king. So I would be sad if they didn't play kind of a bigger role, or at least be involved in the story in some way, right? They're great characters, especially Sidon, because of reasons. But so yeah, I would imagine so.
One of the few voice actors we have yet to have on.
Is Sidon?
Yeah. We can just claim that we thought it was an actual fish, like we thought Impa was an actual old lady.
No, that was a great interview.
Yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on this?
Crybunny, do you want to go first?
I hope that they have a bigger part. I feel like their story. There's more to get there. We didn't get enough. We got like a taste, but I want to go get a little bit more. So I hope so.
Mm-hmm.
I think the opposite, actually. I think they're going to lock them out in crystals, or they're going to die at the beginning of the game and they won't be there at all.
Oh gosh, no!
Don't say that.
That would be very sad.
Our friends need work.
Nope, the crystals under the ground.
Yeah, I get isn't that what they do to Zelda in? Is it
Link to the Past in Four Swords? Yeah.
Yeah, A Link Between Worlds. She gets locked in a mirror.
And
Jeez,
painting.
That's probably what's gonna happen.
that's so horrible. It's like this time
Maybe
Zelda.
you save them and then you can play as them or something like that.
That's what I wanted so bad, and I still think that even though I know 100% they did not, but I still like to say that Age of Calamity stole my idea that I wanted for Breath of the Wild DLC, where you would fight against the certain people and then be able to play as certain people. And then they did that, and I'm like, that was what I wanted, but in Breath of the Wild. Yeah. Have you played Age of Calamity, or did we just ruin everything for you, Crybunny? Because
I started playing it, but it wasn't for me. I didn't like all the button mashing and the fighting and the warrior style, so sticking to Breath of the Wild.
It's very different.
It's very different.
Yeah.
It's very different, but the story is like when you play Breath of the Wild 2, it's most likely not going to have an impact if you played Age of Calamity or not.
No.
Yeah, no. I don't think that's thing a lot of people were like mad about. They're like, Age of Calamity is gonna tarnish the Breath of the Wild sequel, and I'm like, I don't think they're gonna affect each other in any way, because I mean, the different companies making them. Nintendo is very like clear separating Age of Calamity from Breath of the Wild as its own thing.
Yeah.
It's not the Legend of Zelda Age of Calamity, it's Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, right? So yeah. It's not the sequel to Age of Calamity is now in development, it's the sequel to Breath of the Wild is now in development, right? So yeah, I think people need to kind of just calm down about that.
And tomorrow they released the same trailer we had like 2 years ago, but they just changed the Breath of the Wild to Age of Calamity.
No!
And I think we talked about this when Joe was on, when we didn't do any of the Age of Calamity spoilers, but Nintendo did a good job, or not Nintendo, but the developers of the game did a really good job by putting the big twist at the very beginning of the game, to where like the very first cutscene that you see has the time travel thing, to where it's like, maybe this happens in the same timeline, maybe it doesn't. If fans end up liking the story, then maybe we can incorporate it, but if they just want to forget it, then we can just forget it. So they did a really good job of
even in the demo it's there.
Yeah.
So
what was that?
Even in the demo of the game, we had the twist. So
it
was really testing for them.
Yeah. The only thing I'm curious about is if the bad guy will make some sort of appearance. But technically he should be dead. But then it's like he's a magician person, and they have like youth potions in the game.
Aster?
Yeah, Aster. I keep wanting to call him Agnam.
Is lived through both. Like from Impa's like still alive in Breath of the Wild, right? So,
yeah, but I feel he's like 30 or 40 in Age of Calamity, where Impa was like 17. So like
maybe, I think it's supposed to be around 20 and then 120 in Breath of the Wild. But maybe who's to say that like people age and die of old age the same way, and the Zelda
Impa and Skyward Sword's 1,000, so
maybe he's supposed to die of old, but he just like converts his body into like a soul or a magical thing, and he's in a bottle, I guess.
Yeah, alright.
Or we might just not see him in the sequel at all, because he wasn't in Breath of the Wild, so I don't know.
So I think that's our final question. We only did one each, since we went on kind of long on the podcast, and with each of the questions. No oops, it's alright. But thank you to the, right now it says 46 people. So 46 people stayed and watched all of us talk about absolutely nothing for about 2 hours. So thank you. Thank you, Crybunny, for joining for the very first time. And thank you for coming back, Melons. Crybunny, for those who don't know much about you, but would like to check out YouTube videos or streams on your own YouTube or Twitch, where could they follow you to stay updated on all of that?
Thank you guys for having me on. This was so much fun. I really appreciate you guys letting me come on here. But if you guys want to check out my streams or YouTube channel, it's CryBunnyGirl, spelled as it sounds, on Twitch and on YouTube. So would love to see you guys.
Alright, Melon Speedruns, where can people find you?
I don't really post on YouTube or Twitch, but if you want to follow me and see what I'm up to, you can always follow me on twitter.com/melonspeedruns. And I'm actually working on my own indie game right now, so if you want to see how that looks like, you can follow me, and I'll post very soon some images about it.
Does it have anything to do with the last secret image thing that you sent me?
I sent an image thing?
It was the
Go for it. I don't care.
The online Wind Waker.
Oh, online Wind Waker. Yeah, no, it's not related to that. I'm working on an actual 3D platformer that's I hope I'll be able to put on Steam. So it's not Zelda or Mario related.
All right, Daniel. If people were interested in some of the food that you offer, where could they find you?
They will find me in Canada with my house in my kitchen cooking food. No, I
heard a rumor that your restaurant, although named after a burger, only sells bananas. Can you confirm or deny?
That depends. What do you constitute as a restaurant?
Of course it cuts out.
I wasn't fun yesterday of the stream.
Of course it cuts out.
Oh dear.
Because I was talking
into him and he left.
It's true though. I am the Banana King, but no, I'm
Miyamoto debates against that.
There's no debate. I'm the Banana King. I have photo proof. I have photo evidence. I'd have to dig it up. Anyways, but no, you can find me. All social medias are Capt Bergerson, and yeah, I've been actually doing a very exciting sort of video series on my own channel where I'm just going through making a video for each dungeon in Ocarina of Time, and of course that's just a starting point. I'll be going through other games after that, but it's seems to be really well received so far, kind of looking at the sort of atmosphere and the overall dungeon design, and sort of it's like a review but not of the game, of like just of each dungeon on its own. And yeah, it's a lot of fun, and we just hit 500 subs on my YouTube channel. It's still in its fledgling state, but I'm just very excited that many people wanted to listen to me talk about video games. So yeah, go check that out if you don't think that I talk too much and you do like Zelda. So yeah, that's all I've got.
All right, so we have on Twitter at Capt Bergerson, at Melon Speedruns, and at Cry Bunny Girl. Right?
And Jesse.
Yeah, but no one cares about Jesse. So
no, that's not true.
That's 92,000 people cared enough
no,
about you.
The wall of people.
Game over Jesse on
this is the wall of people who care. So.
No.
Well, I mean, it's a lot of atoms, so.
True.
The plot twist is actually one really zoomed in giant photo of me, and that's how pale I am.
It's just like your neck or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's actually a nude photo as well, but you guys can't tell because it's just you have to stand like a mile away before you can see it.
Secret.
Oh, that's why it's so wide.
Yeah.
I get it now.
No, so thank you all for joining, and thank everyone in the chat for coming. We've seen a few familiar names like Birdman. Yeah, just Birdman. It's the only person that I recognize.
Rip to Matt and Rinrin and Javier and all these other people that are in the chat.
No idea. No idea.
Oh.
I don't know who that Rick guy we were talking about earlier is either, but yeah.
If they come back, we'll know next time who they
Thank
are.
you, Birdman. And thank you guys. No, thank everyone that's in the chat that stayed here with us, again, listening to us talk about a bunch of nothing. And go give everyone a follow if you're watching the edited version of the podcast. There will be links to everyone's profile or YouTube or Twitch or whatever in the description below. And yeah, thank you guys.
And thank you, Jess.